and all of a sudden the ball dropped, and they played New York, New York, and they threw some confetti all over the place, and then everyone left.
Where'd you go?
Where are you going?
What to do?
What are you doing?
Take me to. I'm living my best life.
Hi, and welcome back to Living My Fest Life, a podcast about festivals, fairs, events, and experiences, everything from the nationally known to the local and obscure. And today I'm talking with my sister about New Year's Eve ball drop in Times Square, this national event that happens every single year. And I'm talking to my sister because this is the person that I've spent a majority of my New Year's Eves with for my entire life. You know, when you're a kid, you have to be forced to spend something with your sibling. That's how we rolled. We always stayed up and partied. So Katie, welcome back to the podcast.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to talk about this. This is actually one of the biggest parties of the year, and I think it is number one out of the top 10. I think it's Times Square New Year's, and then Mardi Gras in Louisiana.
Okay.
And then I think OU Halloween's in there somewhere, too.
So this is probably the most populated, are you saying, or most popular in terms of watchers or people celebrating?
Yeah, it's the most popular in terms of people coming into town. And I believe they said 1 to 2 million people are in Times Square when the ball drops, which is a huge lie.
Oh, so you've already unveiled a conspiracy theory.
It's literally impossible. They would have to stack people 15 people high.
Yeah, Times Square does. I don't know if they could hold 1 million people.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't, but they say that just to hype it up. It's more like 100,000, if that.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, there's no bathrooms. You can't drink. Don't drink anything beforehand either, because you might as well wear a diaper. Don't drink any pop. Don't drink any alcohol. Don't drink any water.
Yeah, so I've had friends that have gone to Times Square for New Year's Eve, especially when we were in college, because it was like a destination. It was like for some reason that's on some people's bucket lists. I mean, we've watched it from TV since we were children, and it's an event, like you said, it's hyped up to be this big thing. That maybe you think there's millions of people there.
It's like the biggest climax of the year.
Yeah, you're like, it happened, and then there's a ball drop, and it's like slow and steady. But like you said, they corral you into pens, which are just like gated, because they don't want you to be walking around. Because the more you're walking around, you know, you have the ability to run into lighting equipment, sound equipment, TV equipment. They just want to keep you orderly. But at the same time, yeah, no bathrooms. If you're passing around alcohol, they're very strict about that, so you have to conceal it and hide it. And basically, you're standing up for 10 plus hours at a time in the freezing cold. I mean, December in New York City is freezing.
Yeah, it makes you wonder why people actually go to this event, because it sounds pretty awful. But at the same time, it's on my TV every single year at 12 o'clock,
Right.
like we were counting down.
And it's where we grew up seeing. You know, we grew up seeing, okay, if you don't know what to do on New Year's Eve, if you're not at a party, you're obviously watching TV, because that's how we're American. Like, what else are you going to do? TV's our best friend. And ever since you and I were kids, we would watch
Dick
we
Clark?
didn't even watch Dick Clark. I know I would watch MTV. It'd be like Carson Daly, Jenny McCarthy screaming in your face. I remember Y2K happened. Do you remember Y2K?
Oh, yeah.
So that was the year it went from 1999 to 2000. I was 8th grade going into high school.
Yeah, I was a freshman in high school and I couldn't drive yet, and I actually got grounded and couldn't leave the house. It was awful.
So you had to watch it on TV. I remember Gwen Stefani played It's the End of the World as You Know It, because we were all just waiting to see what was going to happen when that ball dropped. We're like, is the power going to go out? And all of us are going to go back to driving Oldsmobiles and drinking bathtub gin? Like, what kind of time change is actually going to happen?
Exactly. All the computers were supposed to blow up and not work anymore.
I don't know why they would necessarily blow up, but
Not really blow up, but
the algorithm.
algorithm.
They said the zeros wouldn't know if it was 1900 or 2. I'm like, they're computers. They're pretty smart.
Yeah, but apparently it was going to take down our whole entire universe, which if that ever happened, I want to be out first. Like, I'm not dealing with it.
Oh, I will deal with it.
Technology too much? No, I'm not doing it.
I'll do it. I'll stockpile. I'll be that girl that, you know.
Do you really want to live like Aunt Linda? Aunt Linda just went a year without internet. I just hooked it back up at her house. She lives on a mountain. Like, that sounds terrible.
Totally, I would do that. I'd be that, I'd grow my hair out really long and gray, I'd have a shotgun and a rocking chair, and I'd adopt all the animals in the neighborhood. It's win-win. Win-win-win-win-win. Anyway, we've digressed. It's just this cultural phenomenon that we grew up watching. The ball would drop at midnight, and there's a huge party. Now let's talk about the history of it. When did people start celebrating New Year's Eve? When did the ball drop become the epitome of the celebration, and why Times Square? So I believe you said it started in 1904. Is that correct?
I believe it was 1902 or 1904.
Okay.
And it started just with like a small ball, which when I say small, this thing was about 900 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And up until 95, I think, or 96, they actually had to drop it. They had to drop it by hand with ropes.
Ew.
Yeah. So that's been dropped 112 times by now.
The ball's design has been updated over the years. So the ball was initially constructed from wood and iron and lit with 100 incandescent light bulbs, which sounds like super heavy. Oh my gosh, iron. And then the current incarnation features LED light system, outer surfacing consisting of triangular crystal panels. So they have done some cosmetic improvements. They're not sending down the same shanky old ball, axle grease down by the ropes.
They only had 7 balls, and the ball stays up all year.
Yeah, so the ball stays up all year. So if you're walking by Times Square, you can see it. So if you've already seen it walking around, like what's the difference between it lighting up and going down slowly than it just being there? Not too sure.
Oh, I was wrong. It was 1907. And
Okay.
the only time it wasn't was 1942 and 1943, which was when the war was happening.
So that's when the ceremony was suspended.
Yes, but they still had people gather there, and they had a moment of silence for a minute, which was probably really empowering.
Wow.
That Yeah, 'cause sounds
really sad.
Yeah, so they all, were
It's like
silent.
not a party anymore. It's like, ugh, we're here.
Well, afterwards they had like the ringing of the bells, so all the sirens went off afterwards, like the fire department and everybody like let off their sirens after the minute of silence because they were just bringing in the new year, but they did not have a ball because they didn't have electricity.
I mean, why don't we have stuff like that? Why don't we have a moment of reflection for all the shit that goes down every single year?
Because we're drunk and we're trying to find someone to hook up with, or else we're never going to have a good love life in the next year.
Right. So, like, there's so much pressure around New Year's Eve, right? People are literally, oh, who am I going to... If I don't have a great New Year's Eve, my whole year is going to be shot. If I don't make out with someone at midnight... I mean, there's a whole movie around it.
I know, there should be multiple movies
Well,
around it.
Probably. There's a movie called New Year's Eve, but what was it, 200 Cigarettes?
That was my favorite New Year's of
So-
all. If you haven't seen 200 Cigarettes, you need to see Dave Chappelle and Martha Plimpton.
Jay Moore, Kate Hudson.
It's the greatest New Year's. Paul Rudd, right?
Was he in that? Paul Rudd's in everything. Paul Rudd is probably walking around everything in the background.
I know Casey Affleck was in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great movie, 200 Cigarettes. It's a good New Year's Eve movie.
Go watch it now.
But that just explains the epitome of like, hey, you need to make sure that your New Year's Eve is perfect. It just puts so much pressure on people. There are people who literally, what are we going to do for New Year's Eve? It has to be the best night. You have to do the champagne toast. You have to have confetti. The glasses that say what year it is. Mm-hmm. The headbands and the hats and the kazoos. And it's like if you're not making... there must be some kind of myth. Like if you don't make a lot of loud noise coming into the new year, you're going to have bad luck. Scream as high as you want. Make a kazoo sound. Like
it's so
whistle.
fun with the kids because we have them banging pots and pans now.
What?
Yeah.
Excuse me, Old Man River? You have them banging pots and pans?
Yeah, that's like a kid thing.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, you get all your pots and pans and you take the kids and you let them make as much noise as they want and then you put them to bed.
It's a poor man's New Year's Eve. What are you talking about?
I mean, okay, so now that I have kids, it's not as fun. We used to go out and get crazy. My favorite New Year's is I had an 80s party. And everyone dressed up as the 80s, except for my one from Andy and his ex, Kathleen, who I love and I miss her. But they came.
Sounds like she died.
No, they broke up, but I still miss her. Anyway, so she came and she was mad because she goes in the car and Andy's like, oh, by the way, it's an 80s party. And she's like, are you serious? He's like, it's okay.
That's a dick move.
No one's going to dress up.
No, I hate that.
They showed up and they were the only ones not dressed up. And let me tell you, they looked weird. Like They look
That's the thing.
so awkward.
I talked about this in another podcast that somebody had me as a guest on. I'm like, you have to be all in. When people invite you to a costume party and you don't show up in costume, like, just don't even come.
No.
Honestly, don't even come. You're bringing down the whole party. You're not any fun. You're not having fun. They're not having fun having you in your flannel in the background. You're ruining their 80s party. Stop doing that. I don't even remember what my best New Year's Eve was. Oh, I do. Yes, I do. I was in London, England. And right in front of the London Eye. So it was like their equivalent to a ball drop, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we go to the London Eye and they have fireworks and then they have Big Ben starts going off, the clock.
That
and
sounds so fun.
it's cool. They don't corral you. So you can walk around a little bit. There was like 15-year-old kids behind us drinking. And I was like, oh my God, you're drinking. They're like, dude, we don't have a freaking drinking age or whatever. And I'm like, oh, well, have fun then. Because I was like, it was your parents. Like, but the worst part is they shut down the subways. So I wore high heels because I was like, oh, we don't have to, we can get there at any time because they don't corral you in. You can just show up. And I was like, then we can just leave. That's fine. They shut down all the underground, the tubes. So we had to walk back to our hotel like miles and miles. And I'm on these heels just like bleeding, like,
Take your shoes off and walk barefoot?
No, I did not do that. We did stop at some pubs, and I got amaretto or some kind of like weird. I ordered something weird, and people were like, "That's not what you drink." And I was just drinking like it looked like
Amaretto.
I don't know if it's amaretto. It's the bottle looks like the syrup lady. It looks like a bottle of syrup.
Jemima?
It looks like Aunt Jemima liquor.
There's like
Amaretto,
amaretto.
Yeah, it's amaretto. So I was like ordering
like Disaronno on the racks.
No, I don't know what I was thinking. It was because I was in college and I didn't know much about
It's
drinking.
like a mixer.
It is a mixer. I was drinking like, oh, can I have some cream sherry? Or like, can I have...
Time I was in college, I had like a PhD in drinking. This is so weird. We're sisters.
I know. We grew up in the same house, but very, very differently. Okay, so...
My other New Year's, the worst New Year's I ever had was I got really excited on midnight and we watched the ball drop. And then I proceeded to chug a whole bottle of champagne because I was so excited.
What year was this?
2004.
Okay, all right.
And I definitely threw up for the rest of the night. It was awful.
Well, yeah, because chugging and champagne don't go together.
Don't chug the bubbles. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't chug the bubbles.
Okay, so security is strictly enforced at Times Square by the New York Police Department, even more since the September 11th attacks. Attendees are required to pass through a security checkpoint now and are assigned to a pen and prohibited from bringing backpacks or alcohol. And again, you can't leave. So I think it's new that they assign you to a pen. So even if you're not up front having Jenny McCarthy yell in your face, like, what can you even see, I wonder? Just the back of people's heads, just hanging out there.
Well, they have a giant screen, like, in the back of the stage. And Post Malone's going to be there this year.
Ooh, Posty. Okay. So yeah, festivities usually begin in the early evening. The raising the ball is around 6 p.m. So you can actually go for the raising. Maybe you can leave after that. But like, again, you're penned in. You can't leave. They do distribute party favors to attendees. Large balloons, branded corporate sponsored items, glasses, music, noisemakers. What is your favorite New Year's Eve party favor? Because I know that you and confetti don't usually get along.
No, I don't. I just usually like just alcohol and chugging champagne.
I like a nice hat. I like a nice, there was just few occasions where you get to
80s
wear.
party.
No. You have to wear New Year's Eve outfits. Let's talk about that. There's a lot of pressure to look sparkly or gold or metallic.
Well, I did have a New Year's Eve party one time that was an outer space theme. And I was a one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater.
Okay.
And I wore a purple sparkly dress. And I had one eye. It was a styrofoam eye headband. And with a horn. I looked amazing. I'm going to post this on the Instagram page.
Yeah, post this on our Instagram so you can see this purple flying eater zombie unicorn.
Yeah.
I love it. That's a really fun theme.
You guys need to get into theme parties for New Year's. What is better than a theme New Year's party?
So for like a couple years in my 20s, a bunch of us would get together and go to these New Year's Eve parties at like a hotel.
Fun.
But it was like they're like, it's all you can eat and all you can drink. And I'm like, if anybody knows me, I can have about 3 cocktails before I start to either feel sick or drunk or like, I'm not a good drinker. I have 2 modes. I have drunk Kelly and then I have sober Kelly. And New Year's Eve has never been my thing. So we go to these hotel parties and it'd be like a bunch of people that we didn't know, like strangers. Now I really like the idea of what I did the last 3 years. Really, has nothing to do with podcasts. This is so lame. People are going to be like, this girl sucks. Why is she doing a podcast about events and YOLOing? But what I do for New Year's the last 3 years is I do midnight yoga at this hot yoga place. So the first hour is like kind of reflecting and journaling about like what happened in that year and then goal setting for the next year. And then you do 75 minutes of hot yoga and then the ball drops and you cheers with everybody. You have a glass of champagne and then you go home. Oh my God, your face. The look of judgment. Oh.
You're not the princess of fun.
I know. Well, okay, here's the thing. Different strokes for different folks. You know what I mean? Like, I'm all for all these other events. I bring them to you and I tell you about them. Doesn't mean I always participate in them.
I refuse to go out for New Year's because it is rookie central. Like, this is like...
It's the Santa
amateur
Con
night. Like, you get all the dumb people in the world. I don't even like to drive on it.
You get all the people who are trying to escape their children who are like, I'm going to have a night of fun, damn it.
Yeah, so the perfect New Year's for me is at a party watching this ball drop. And
yeah, with your close friends, you watch the event. You don't actually have to be outside freezing your ass off.
No. They said the coldest ball drop was in 1917. It was 1 degrees.
Oh my God. In 1917?
Yep, and the wind chill was -18.
You ride your horse in, and then you kill your horse, and you have to live inside of your horse until the ball drops.
And the highest is 58 degrees, which has been pretty warm this year, so maybe we'll hit that. But that happened in 65 and 72.
Okay. The button itself does not actually start the drop. That is done from the control room, synchronized with the government time signal. So even if you're like, activate the button to drop the ball. So like people can't like come in and like break into the Times Square control unit and hit the button and be like,
Madness.
at 8 p.m. they're like, it's midnight now, and everybody like breaks out into... All hell breaks loose.
All the people that want to go to bed, which is 22% of people go to bed before midnight in America. They probably want the 8 p.m. ball drop. But that's what they make the zoo for. You can go to that ball drop at your local zoo.
Yeah, check out your local zoo, losers. Just kidding, I do yoga. Okay, so guests and celebrities that go to Times Square have included... Sang Lang, who was injured during the 1998 Goodwill Games and was being rehabbed in New York. Marianne Hopkins from Doctors Without Borders. Muhammad Ali. Michael Bloomberg became the official mayor of New York City upon the beginning of 2002 and took his oath right after midnight. Christopher Reeves, Cyndi Lauper, Secretary of State Colin Powell. So they actually have like dignitaries that come to these things. The Clintons came. Lady Gaga, the Rockettes, Sonia Sotomayor, yeah. God, let's talk about that. Okay, so 2 years ago, Mariah Carey performed at New Year's Eve, and the music, like, she got off cue somehow.
She pulled a Ashley Simpson on SNL.
Yeah, her music, somehow it messed up and got out of cue,
No,
and she just sits there. They played the same song again, and she just stands there with her hand on her hip, smiling like, you fucking amateurs. I'm not moving a single inch. Yeah, she was...
I felt so bad for her, but it was such good TV to watch.
Why would you feel bad for someone who owns their own private island? Ever.
Because she was embarrassed in front of millions and millions of people that watched.
She didn't look embarrassed. She looked like she was about ready to kill somebody.
It was live.
That's what you
and
get.
Millions and millions. Actually, I think almost 1 billion people watch this ball drop a year.
No one's going to think less of Mariah Carey. She's fucking Mariah Carey. Like, she can do whatever she wants.
That's true.
And she did. She literally just sat there with her hands on her hip doing whatever she wanted.
Well, I enjoy Ryan Seacrest, and I enjoyed Dick Clark.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they would get a woman that's not Jenny McCarthy one day.
So what they want to do, there was like a petition going around this year to have Barbara Walters host it so that they could go into the new year and she goes,
Barbara!
I'm Barbara Walters and this is 2020.
That would be awesome! See,
Yeah.
that's like the 1997 up.
Yeah, you need a theme. Okay, the conclusion of the ball drop is usually followed by a fireworks shot from the roof of Times Square and the playing of the first verse of Auld Lang Syne. Have you ever known the words to Auld Lang Syne?
To all the people we forgot
Okay.
and never come to mind.
Okay, so I'll fuck all those people, yeah.
And all the people and apricots.
Okay. Nailed it.
Auld Lang Syne time.
Okay, so the
Is that it?
yeah, no, that's all the apricots. Please sing that. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna do the minimalist English translation. Okay. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Question mark. Sing it like it's a question. Should all acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Then it's should all acquaintance be forgot and Auld Lang Syne. And then the second verse is, and surely you'll buy your pint cup, and surely I'll buy mine. I just wish the next lyric was, and don't call me Shirley. And we'll take a cup o' kindness yet for all lang syne. Verse 3. We too have run about the slopes and picked the daisies fine, but we're mandered many in weary foot since all lang syne. Okay, so it's getting deep now. It's talking about picking daisies. Verse 4. We too have paddled in the stream from morning sun till dine, but seas between us broad have roared since Auld Lang Syne. Man, shit is going on with this song.
I don't even know what's happening at this point.
So what
it
do you
sounds like an ex-boyfriend.
I don't know why we started singing this every New Year's Eve. I guess it's okay, so it's traditionally sung at the conclusion of New Year gatherings in Scotland and around the world, usually in English-speaking countries. In Scotland, it's a common practice that everyone joins hand with the person next to them to form a great circle around the dance floor.
And in America, you just make out with the person next to you. It doesn't matter who it is.
America. At the beginning of the last verse, everyone crosses their arms across their breasts so that their right hand reaches out to their neighbor on the left and vice versa.
3,000 pounds. Not the ball. That's the amount of confetti blasted over the crowd as the ball completes its drop. This equates to 30 million pieces of colored paper. What a waste!
That's bullshit.
Of trees.
That's bullshit.
Are you kidding me?
You know they're not going to do that in the future. They're outlawing this week. They're the new year. They're outlawing plastic bags in grocery stores in Oregon.
They should, and straws are horrible. So it takes more than 100 people to dump 30 million pieces of confetti on top of 7 buildings, and it takes 6 hours to clean it up. I cannot believe it only takes 6 hours.
I guess it's pretty for like a second, but they also have fireworks. They also have other things. My favorite New Year's Eve tradition is when I post a meme on my Instagram of Lieutenant Dan looking off into space with all the confetti all the confetti's falling onto his face, and it's like, Lieutenant Dan, Happy New Year! And he's just blanked out, like, fuck this. That's my favorite New Year's Eve.
He got legs.
Yeah.
Eventually.
He did just so you know, the Auld Lang Syne is a very widely used symbolism for new beginnings and new ends, so they also play it at farewells, funerals, graduations, and other sort of like election, anything where it's a new beginning or new end is kind of like the tradition that they play that for. So it's been translated into many languages, sung around the world. The song's pentatonic scale matches scales used in Korea, Japan, India, China, and Denmark. The song was translated in 1927. Okay, so we did talk about Mariah Carey and her famous performance in 2016, but here are some other famous moments from the New York City Times Square ball drop. Maria Menounos says "I do" in Times Square, tying the knot with her boyfriend in 2017. They got married right there. And I'm sure a lot of proposals go on during this New Year's Eve. I think they pan over to the audience almost every single time during the ball drop and you see some guy get on his knees. So in 2016, Mariah Carey performed, and she called the experience horrible and reportedly fired her creative director over it, saying that she was set up to fail. So she came back in 2017 and knocked it out of the park, but she also asked for tea. Mariah asked for tea in 2017. Much better performance, but she also complained it was a disaster that no one gave her tea when she was on stage. She needed a steamy, hot beverage. For some reason, this is on the list, Taylor Swift and Joe Jonas standing near each other after their breakup. I don't know why that be, but in 2008, they had to stand next to each other. Okay, so Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen's awkward banter made the list. I don't know why. Awkward banter.
Shit that never happened.
Listen, we're bantering right now, and it's awkward. Listen, bantering is hard, you guys, especially when people are looking at you. Mayor Bloomberg and Lady Gaga kiss in 2011. Did you see that?
I don't even remember where I was in 2011.
Good call. Miley Cyrus and Ryan Seacrest kiss in 2013.
Ooh, who hasn't?
He also kissed Debbie Harry, who was standing next to him when the ball dropped. So, I mean,
That's literally how they pay Ryan Seacrest to come.
He gets to smooch.
You get to make out with anyone.
You can smooch whoever you want. Jenny McCarthy twerks around the New York Police Department in 2013.
That's every year.
And she made out with a cop in 2012.
And her husband and every other year.
Gene Simmons lights his hair on fire in 1937.
1937?
I'm sorry. 1973. This is my true dyslexia coming out. Gene Simmons, a young boy of 4 years old, lights his hair on fire. His face is horribly scarred. Why he has to wear the Kiss makeup for his whole career. So he was debuting his signature fireball trick, and things went horribly wrong. During the New Year's Eve performance, he was spitting kerosene into a torch, and thankfully someone with a wet towel was ready to rescue him from major injuries. Okay, so
scary.
Yeah.
People do dumb stuff on New Year's. Just stay home. Don't go anywhere.
You can watch Green Day's Billy Joe Armstrong swear on MTV's broadcast in 1999. He announced to the audience on national TV that he was, quote, really fucked up. And the crowd simply cheered him on and laughed, but I'm sure that he got some kind of fine. Dick Clark returned to his show in 2006. He had a stroke in 2004, and then Regis Philbin had to fill in 2015, and 1 year later he was back. But unfortunately, he died from a heart attack in 2012, so that's when we lost Dick Clark and gained Jenny McCarthy and Ryan Seacrest.
Oh, but I like Jenny McCarthy's
Enthusiasm?
New Kids on the Block husband.
Okay, yeah. Kathy Griffith strips down to her bra during the broadcast in 2011. Quote, gonna admit I'm a little bummed I'm not in jail after my CN New Year's strip down, so Cher could show up with my mom and bail money, she tweeted later. She got in trouble again for making an inappropriate joke about oral sex in 2012. So Kathy Griffin is fun on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, she's going to say something crazy about Trump this year.
Probably. Let's see. 2011, Don Lemon gets his ear pierced on air. Jamie Kennedy overall fails after commercial break. I like Jamie Kennedy too. He accidentally counted down 10 seconds too late is, I think, the reason he's a fail.
I remember that.
You had one job. Britney Spears lip syncing causes uproar in 2017.
Okay, why is everyone mad that people are lip syncing? I mean, it's New Year's. They're drunk. You can't tell you're far away. Why are you mad?
It seems like anything. It seems like these are like the most minimal, quote, disaster. Taylor Swift standing next to someone is not a disaster. Wolf Blitzer talks through the lyrics of Despacito. Oh, the crime of the century. I can't believe you had to start your New Year's Eve. Steve Harvey's all-white outfit? What is this list? Okay. I'm sorry that I even started reading this.
Now that I've actually done this podcast with you, I don't think I ever want to go to New Year's on Times Square ever again, but I will continue to watch it on TV.
Taylor Swift falls after her performance. These are not disasters. If these are, quote, disasters...
Privilege.
Yes. Oh, the horror. Yeah, it just seems like if you have a good seat, if you could actually see the performances and be a part of the event up in the front, it might be worth it. You know what I mean? Because you're up close, you might be seeing, like we said, this Alanis Morissette's this year. Holy shit. To be up front New Year's Eve. That'd be a good way to start the year. Yeah, however,
she's everywhere this next year.
I know. I bought a $300 ticket to go see her. But if you were in the back, I think that would just make the whole thing a little ridiculous. But they need all that people there so it looks hyped so you want to come, right?
I think it's the frenzy and the collective experience, and it's all about the climax.
Quit saying climax. You're freaking me out. Okay, last thing to drop. There are a list of a couple things here. If you don't want to go to New York City and watch the ball drop on New Year's Eve, here's a list of alternative places you could go on New Year's Eve. St. Andrews, New Brunswick. A red maple leaf is dropped. This event actually happens in Eastport, Maine, located across from St. Andrews, but drops at midnight Atlantic time, and it is to commemorate the New Year Atlantic Canada. Thoughts?
So just imagine somebody on a ladder with a leaf.
Just one little leaf?
And there's just people looking up, and they're like, okay, and then it just kind of floats down.
Okay, so St. George, Bermuda, a paper machete Bermuda onion covered in Christmas lights is dropped.
That sounds awful.
I like it. Kentucky, Prestonburg, Kentucky, a star is raised.
Oh, they're so progressive.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? We're going all the way up. It's probably something with Jesus. Delaware Beach, Delaware, a ball is dropped, so you can go to the Delaware Beach location if you're not into New York City.
Literally anywhere around you probably has a ball dropping.
Well, especially Florida. So Florida, in Brooksville, Florida, they have a 200-pound tangerine. It's dropped 40 feet during the countdown, and from midnight until 2009, the tangerine was an emblem of the citrus industry that thrives in Brookville. I guess they don't do that anymore. Fort Lauderdale, Florida, the ball is dropped.
I'm starting a new tradition this year. Starting in 2020, we're going to do the pants drop.
Shut. The trouser drop.
The trouser drop.
It's disgusting.
I mean, it's been going on secretly for years.
It's literally a party in your pants.
I'm just going to go with it. Out yourself.
Key West, Florida, they do a conch drop. 6-foot queen conch shell drops 20 feet to the top of a bar to usher in New Year's, held annually in the island's official New Year's celebrations. They also do at the 301, sorry, that's my dyslexia coming out again. At the 801 Saloon, a local gay bar, drops a ruby slipper with drag queen Gary Sushi Marion inside each ear. Fuck yes. That sounds amazing.
Is that where we're going now?
That's where we're going. Miami, Florida, they also do a big orange drop. It's a 35-foot piece of neon sign dubbed Mr. Neon in the shape of an orange with sunglasses.
What?
Yeah, it sounds like a Capri Sun. Rises 400 feet until it reaches the top of the Hotel Intercontinental, and then it's dropped. Orlando, they do a huge video wall, confetti cannon, fireworks, and orange drop there. In Sarasota, they do a glowing pineapple that's dropped. Winter Haven, Florida, a Lego brick is dropped at 8 p.m. So that's like for kids.
Yeah, they just throw Legos out the ground, and everyone steps on them.
Yeah, and everybody dies. Atlanta, Georgia, they do a peach drop, which is really cute, around Atlanta Underground. It takes 58 seconds for the peach to descend the 138-foot tower. Michael Jackson's brother Tito was the official countdown person in 2011. In Gainesville, Georgia, they do the Chuck the Chicken drop to benefit the Humane Society. In Macon, Georgia, they do a 6-foot wide lighted ball with metal cherry blossoms and pink lights in honor of the International Cherry Blossom Festival.
Oh, that's really fun.
That's adorable.
Usually every hour we take a balloon filled with confetti and pop it over the kids' heads now.
Oh, that's cute.
Old now.
Perry, Georgia, a buzzard is lowered. Tallapoosa, Georgia, a stuffed possum is lowered.
What? That sounds like the best thing.
Unadilla,
like Kentucky.
Yeah, Unadilla, they lower a hog. And then in Winder, Georgia, a jug drop is done. Indianapolis, the Indy car is dropped at the beginning of 2015. Kokomo, an aluminum 70-pound ball is dropped. Muncie, Indiana, they do a ball drop. These are great lists. Bangor, Maine, a beach ball covered in Christmas lights has been thrown off the top of a local restaurant.
It's just like one guy.
He's like, I made the list. They do lobsters in Maine, blueberry balls. Baltimore, Maryland, they do disco balls, a red crab. A giant key is dropped in Frederick, Maryland.
Okay, so I challenge everyone this year to come up with your own drop and share it with Living My Fest Life podcast. and we will let you know.
Yeah. Who has the best one? Yeah, they drop Snooki off of a building in New Jersey. They do all sorts of stuff around the world. And where we live in Ohio, I'm just going to do a quick. A giant ball of popcorn is dropped in Kerrigan Falls. Elmore, Ohio, they drop a sausage. Marion, Ohio, they do the Marion Popcorn Festival, so they drop a giant ball of popcorn. A walleye fish named Captain Willie Walleye is dropped in Port Clinton, Ohio. In Cincinnati, Ohio, where we live, a flying pig is flown, not dropped, confirming where at least one occasion where pigs fly. Yellow Springs and New Carlisle does a ball drop.
I'm living my best life.
Special thanks to my sister who was sick for being my podcast guest. New Year's Eve takes place on December 31st every single year at midnight. You can learn a little bit more about the Times Square ball drop by going to TripAdvisor or following some message boards on Facebook or even Instagram, looking at the photos. They do post a lot of information, no official website, but you can learn a lot about the activities and the schedule for that night by just Googling it. Please check over at our Instagram, add us as a friend, we'll follow back. And if you have any podcast episode ideas, if you'd like to hit us up at festlifepodcast@gmail.com, we'd love to hear them. Special thanks to Phil from Mi Compadre for doing the editing for the show, and we'll see you next year. What? Go fest yourself.